Hey guys, welcome back to the Abomination, where I'm creating a game without a game engine, clueless what I'm doing. And today let's take it up one step further. So what we're gonna do today is we are going to add controls to the paddles. So let's say paddle 1 is on the left, paddle 2 is on the right. That's player 1 and player 2. So you can control it with the keyboard keys. So let's start. Okay, I've opened up the game from where we left off. I've uploaded this to GitHub also so that you all can view the code. Um, okay, let's start. So let's just run it once and see. Okay, so as we can see, we have two paddles, a ball in between, and the screen is refreshing infinitely. It's not taking any user inputs, not even taking the interrupt of Control C. So let's just do one thing. Okay, now we want to control the paddles. So for that, we need to draw the paddles and determine where they are. Here, what already we have done is we have created static paddles, but now let's create dynamic paddles. So to do that, we'll leave draw as it is, and we're just gonna rename this as should print pixel. So something like this. I'm just gonna rename the function, and instead of this, that's the position of our paddles. So essentially we have to print the paddles and we have to print the ball. Here what we're gonna do is we're gonna just say if is paddle here, and if the paddle is here, we're going to return 1. And now we have to define this function. So what inputs will this function take? I think we should give it a paddle. I don't know what paddle, but let's say we have paddle 1, x and y, or is paddle here, paddle number 2, x and y. So if paddle number 1 is at this position or paddle number 2 is at this position, so then we have to draw a pixel, else we don't have to draw a pixel. So now let's define this function is paddle here. Okay, this should be int is paddle here. And you have to take a paddle, I don't know, not as of yet, an int and int. So in C, there are no classes or such. We can draw structs. So I'm just gonna go for a struct paddle, and what this will have an X position, and this will either be 0 or 119 depending on if it's the player 1 paddle or player 2 paddle. And we have Y start position. So Y start position is going to be the top of the paddle, and 1 2 3 4 5 pixels will be reserved for the paddle length. Yeah, the paddle length. So it will start from 0, and what will be the maximum value of this, because we have 30 characters high window, we have the size 5 of paddle, so obviously this will be 25. Maximum it can go to 25. So we've defined this, and let's just define p1 p2 here as well. Now initially these will have garbage, so what we have to do here is we have to init paddle, and we have to just kind of not return anything. It's init paddle, like initialize a paddle. So or just like initialize both paddles here. So in this x, this will be 0, and the x value of this will be 119. So here, if you see, you just define the x coordinate of the paddle, like where it is, so it can be displayed. And now for the y value, I think y values, we're gonna start at the top, or we can start at the middle, or let's start at the middle. So if we have to start at the middle, then the middle pixel should be in the middle. This should be 13 because the middle one is 15, and 2 will be up, 2 will be down, so 13, I guess, but that's the 14th position, so it should be 12. So p2.ys is equals to 12 as well. And let's change the position of this as well. This should be 14. I've changed the position of the ball to be like in the center, dead center. And now we have to init the paddles here. We're gonna init the paddles in the main. Now the next thing, I think this should work. Let's see if it works. Okay, it says this before int. Oh, okay. So I think you have to give struct paddle here, and I'm gonna go for paddle star because I want to pass the address of the object, not copy the object altogether. So just paddle star. Oh, okay. We have not defined this function, so we have to define the function int. Yes, paddle here. Yes. So first of all, we need a struct paddle star, and we need int x and int y coordinates. Okay, so here we are. We have the coordinates and the paddle. Instead of determining where the paddle is, let's determine where it is not. So like that's basically very easy, because in the whole field there are only 10 pixels that are actually representing the paddle, but a whole lot that are not representing. So representing those should be much easier. So if x, oh, sorry, p, this won't be a dot, this will be an arrow sign because it's a reference to the paddle. So if this is not equal to x, that means that this paddle is not at the pixel which we are going to print, so we're not going to print it. And for the y positions, so okay, now it's fixed that, so when this condition will not occur, that means we are at either 0 or 119. That means we're at either of the edges. So if you're at the edges, should we even print the paddle? If is it upwards, is it downwards? So now we have to check for the y coordinate, that if the y coordinate is greater than y, then you have to return 0. And this would essentially mean that the paddle's starting coordinate is more like downwards than the pixel we're at. So the paddle can spawn downwards but not upwards. That's what we have defined over here. So that means if it's upwards, we're not going to print it. If paddle position, this is the pixel position. If this is lesser than this is the case that we've done. Okay, now if both of them are equal at the equal length, we have to print it. If this plus 1 is equals to y, we have to print. Plus 2, plus 3, plus 4, we have to print. And this plus 5, if it's equal to y, we don't have to print. Plus 5 is, this plus 5 is essentially down onto the 17th pixel. If this is lesser than or equal to y, I think, yeah, perfect. So yeah, okay, now what we have to do is we have to provide input to the paddles. And how to do that? Okay, so let's see in C, if we do something like a scanf or something, then there are going to be two implications. First implication is that scanf's gonna block the code. We don't want the code to get blocked. We want to keep the ball moving even if there is no input from the users. And the second implication will be that scanf reads from the console when we input something. Let's say we give up arrow or W or something in the input. It's gonna get presented in the your game window. That's gonna look ugly, and we have to press enter also after that. So scanf's not an option. There is get ch that reads one character at once, but that still prints out the character onto the terminal, so that is also not an option. One thing that I had read about on the internet was in conio.h, and I think this is Windows specific. There is underscore get ch. What happens when you do underscore get ch is that it reads the character which you have pressed by the keyboard, but it doesn't print that on the console. So underscore get ch is what we're going to use here, and then there is one more function in conio.h, that's kb hit. So this means that if your keyboard is hit, this is just a binary function that whenever it's polled, it tells you whether your keyboard is hit or not. So that's what we're gonna do here. I'm gonna go for kb hit. So if my keyboard is hit, then I have to recognize the input and then update the position of the paddles. So what I am going to do here is I am going to pass the getCh. So basically I'll just do int character is equals to underscore getCh, and I'm gonna pass it to a function which says process input, and this is gonna be C. Now what we have to do here is we have to create this function process input, and we have an int character. So character and integers are like, we can use them interchangeably. Write process input here, and it takes an input character. I'll just say, okay, so I'm gonna keep W as player one. So whichever player is on the left, I'm saying is the player one battle up, and S would be player one battle down, and then on this side I have numpad 8. So player 2 battle down. Okay, now if we have to do here is C is equals to W, actually small w because no one's gonna press the shift. We have to update the battle once starting Y position. We have to add 1 to it. And what's the maximum it can go? That we have to check. Not like that. If b1 dot ys is less than equal to, sorry, not less than, but less than 25, then you can add, and just w s 8 and 5. So here p2, it's not p2, this one's p2, and s means we're going down. Oh, I'm really sorry, this is less than 25, this is greater than 0. And here we have to subtract because we're coming upwards, and here we have to add because we're going downwards. Okay, I think this is it. Let's run and see what happens. Okay, and I'm pressing W now. Okay, it's going up, and I'm pressing S now, so it's going down. Okay, there's an input lag of a little bit, but we can solve that later, definitely. Okay, and the keys are ghosting at 1 only, so if I'm pressing S and 5 together, the key that's came in the second time, that's taking the input altogether. Okay, that's fine. Okay, I open Notepad just to see what happens when I do that in Notepad. And yeah, in the Notepad, it's working the same way. Notepad's written in C. And yeah, we've done it. We are now giving input to this place. That's like moving real slow. I'm just gonna come back. Alrighty, I think we have done a lot in this. Giving input was no small task. So thanks a lot. Thank you for watching. Whoever's watching, thank you everyone. And be sure to subscribe and ask 4 more people to subscribe. Okay, so we'll meet you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.